The Wayback Machine.
I was really, really hoping we would actually see a burn deck here just because it would be great to watch one with you. But what we do have, Rug Delver and Esper Stoneblade, Lauren Nolen and Ben Wienburg, neither of whom are strangers to success in the Star City Games Open Series. Here they are in the Invitational. Looks like Lauren was making a attempt to move in there on the judge for a second.
Yeah, Lauren was Joe Lassette's victim in the that top eight match last week in Las Vegas. Ben Weinberg actually shot me a message asking if he could borrow my blurred mongooses. I played blurred plus nimble rug in an invitation a little while back, but this morning he chickened out, so it looks like he's on a pretty run-of-the-mill rug delver deck.
We see a hand here from Inquisition of Kozilek, which is a one-land hand, brainstorm, and no fetches in there. So this is a keep that could backfire, but is, obviously brainstorm and a draw phase. It probably won't, but it could get scary for him if it turns out to have a little bit of bad luck.
Yeah, and Lauren might just tag this brainstorm here too. No.
Inquisition, I don't mind grabbing the only creature in there.
And Ben is a player who's actually, he played a lot of Legacy back before Legacy really blew up in popularity. When this deck
Takes the brainstorm.
When this deck was, Canadian Threshold or whatever.
Yep.
Ben was playing it and putting up results. There'd be a Legacy side event at a Grand Prix in 2008 or whatever, and Ben was playing that deck a lot, even back then before Legacy was the type of format popularity-wise that it is today.
Lauren Nolen, a former Invitational winner in Baltimore. And yeah, actually with Ben talking about those things, when he wasn't playing Rug Delver, the other thing I saw him playing was 4 or 5 color versions of Counterbalance.
Yep. So Lauren not casting his Stoneforge Mystic on the second.
Look at that smile.
Yep.
Ben's like, yeah, I found the fetch land. Stifle? Nope. Okay.
Nope. Lauren not casting Stoneforge Mystic last turn, simply sitting on Counterspell and now being rewarded for his patience here, as he can now counter the Goyf if he so chooses.
He's like, nah, that's okay.
Yeah, he drew a plow, so good read.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Patrick Sullivan. This is round 6 of the Legacy portion of the Invitational here. Only 10 more rounds after this one.
Yeah. Over some days. We're not cramming it all in here.
Oh, that would be fun though.
I think maybe until about round 10 or 11, then it would probably stop being fun. The quality of the broadcast would likely erode a little bit.
Stoneforge Mystic from Lauren Nolen, 1 mana, open for perhaps cards like Days that I believe he still knows about, unless he has forgotten, which I doubt.
And this is a line of play that you see. Obviously Esper and Rug, very popular decks. Batterskull is especially challenging for the Rug Delver deck to be once it's in play. So a lot of the Esper Blade game plan in this matchup is trying to push the game in a certain way to get Batterskull into play, either through Stoneforge Mystic or by just stalling the game out long enough to get to 5 mana and being able to play it.
In with the Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf a 4/5. You can see the Tarmogoyf die right there at the top of your screen.
This is a rough spot for, Lauren to play around. I know he's playing around Days, but his hand's particularly soft to it. He can't land Jace next turn if he's playing around it still. I guess he is able to go preordain, plow something, what have you, but Lauren showing a lot of patience here. That Days is really preventing him from easily stabilizing against Ben's board.
One of the things about Lauren's deck is that Batterskull can give you such a huge recovery from the dangers that are presented by an aggressive start from your opponent. I mean, yes, you have to get it out, but it does give you the idea that Breathing Room might be right around the corner.
Yeah, that card is just very difficult for a lot of decks, Rug among them, to beat once it's in play. Lauren going for a Stoneforge Mystic, and that's going to eat a Spell Snare.
So if you are at home and you want to follow us on Twitter, Our handle is at SCG Live. That gets everybody here. And you can see the hashtag SCGInvi. If you were following along, you would know right now that Christian Calcano is now 2-3 because he just posted it a few minutes ago before this round started. And you'd find out all kinds of other things. So make sure you are checking out that hashtag SCGInvi.
I was about to say, yeah, Calcano posted it. I was like, oh, that's kind of a random beatdown for us to post on our page. By the way, Calcano's 2-3. But if he posted it, yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah, he posted it, and it's the reason I was mentioning it is it's the most recent post that I see. So
you see a little counter war here happening over the Stoneforge Mystic. Loren attempted to resolve the Stoneforge. It was hit with a spell snare. Loren countered back, and Ben then dazed. So this is setting up Loren. He knew about the daze, but this is setting him up to either land Jace next turn in the event that he does not draw a land, or land Batterskull if he does draw a 5th land.
2 more mana here from Ben Wienburg. Drops another huge monster into play. This is 9, or potentially with a little bit of luck for him, 11 power. Waiting right around the corner.
And there's a Vendilion Click, not very good here. Although I guess it allows him to go click and plow, which is pretty good. You can try to trade with that Delver, get a Goyf off the table, and then have a little more breathing room to try to land Jace for Batterskull the next turn. Even the 5th land here, if he drew Batterskull, wouldn't even be that awesome, because if the Delver flips, that's flying, and then the 2 Tarmogoyfs are 4/5s.
So he knows Ben's Force of Will. Does he know the other card?
No. Because it was the draw step last turn.
Gotcha.
But he can pretty safely assume here that it's hard for him to force because he missed on the Delver flip.
Oh, look at this.
Although now we're here.
Oh, now I almost wonder if what you want to do is before he draws that card, do some plowing and Vendilion clicking just to, see if you got the blue card.
Yeah. Since Ben missed on his Delver flip last turn, it's pretty safe to assume that he doesn't have a blue card at that point to pair with the Force of Will, because really only Delver is the blue card he can draw that doesn't flip his... does not flip his Delver. Brainstorm, a counterspell, whatever, would all cause it to flip.
And Ben's like, yep.
Yeah,
and now Loren still has not let Ben draw that spell snare yet. He's thinking, is there anything else that I want to do? And Ben waits. Cards on the table.
Yeah, I had to imagine we're gonna click here. We had to trade with that. I mean, he doesn't even have to take anything, but he has to make sure this resolves.
And here's the click.
I assume that we're gonna try to take that Force of Will because we need to stick our Batterskull next turn.
And he says it's okay.
Oh no, we're doing it to ourselves. We're looking for a 5th land.
Does not even look. Okay. And now we know Force of Will, Spell Snare, and a Mystery in Ben Wienburg's hand. In come the creatures. Block.
So I guess Loren's logic here is because he has 2 more turns from this Goyf, he can afford to be a little bit patient and try to do something like Brainstorm, or it just seems so risky to me to let Ben keep Force plus blue card.
I'm actually very surprised that the Force wasn't just destroyed and gotten rid of.
I mean, I understand he needs to find a 5th land, and if he finds something like Source of Plowshares, it's much safer to do that than go for Batterskull, but this is some risky business.
Brainstorm. Preordained Force of Will, Fetch Land, and Batterskull?
Yep.
It's a polluted Delta.
And that 5th, it's very important that that's Delta, because it means that basically doesn't count as a land for the purposes of trying to get that Batterskull into play, because Ben's next attack is going to drop Loren to 1. So, not only does Loren need to find a 5th land, it needs to be a 5th land that's not a fetch land.
The clock is quickly ticking down here for Loren.
So we have to use our preordain here, I assume as a brainstorm, basically as a brainstorm shuffle and get rid of... Yep.
I know what they are. I put them there.
There's a Stoneforge Mystic, and that gives him a chump blocker. I guess he can take the hit and go to 1 and try to stick Batterskull, but so many draws that Ben has that just kill him.
And Ben Wienburg here, just doing some thinking.
He's got that Spell Snare in his hand, but he might not want to lose that blue card for his Force of Will. I think he has a snare here because he already knows that letting Nolen cheat that Batterskull into play is just very risky. With Lauren missing his land drop here, it basically means he needs to draw non-fetch land to even survive this turn, and then the Batterskull just can only jump block. Oh, and there's a Wasteland.
Yikes.
So that is...
Sure, not quite a time walk, but it sure feels like it.
So we need Souls or a Plow. There's Ooh. We're still going. That's a Plow.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's what you got. Oh,
not a shabby draw.
Now remember, Ben Wienburg does have Burn in his deck.
4 bolts. We just draw... We draw a Nimble Mongoose. That's also pretty good here.
It's a hard one. Oh, boy. I think that might be it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
There we go. Yep. The goose is loose.
Yeah, not a lot of draws to beating that guy.
I think that at that point, Lauren would need to draw... Well, he can draw anything to chump block. He's only got the 1 click.
It has to be Lingering Souls. That has to be the start.
Yeah, there it is. I was looking to see, and you're right. There it is. Lingering Souls would be the card to get out of there.
And then he needs to go, like, ponder into a land, and flashback might... it has to be that sort of...
And all the whole time, hope that Ben doesn't draw a bolt.
Or anything, or another creature, or a counterspell basically lands.
And now, Ben Wienburg, he has in his sideboard a couple of cards that are useful against the Lingering Souls, and these players know each other well enough. It's very possible he has a very good sense of Lauren's list just from associating with each other. So the Sulfur Elementals, particularly good against the Souls. Just goodbye to all of y'all.
Yeah, predominantly, you see it in some sideboards as a way to fight cards like Mother Runes and Thalia. Certainly Lingering Soul is another card. Nice card to get caught in the crosshairs here. So I'm looking through Lauren's list here, and I don't think he has... Does he have 0 copies of Supreme Verdict?
In the main board, there is one Supreme Verdict. That's like one of my favorite cards right now in decks like Esper Stoneblade or anything that might want to be controlling. Supreme Verdict in Legacy is really powerful.
Yeah, and it's especially good against Rug Delver. So much of Rug Delver's game plan is either find durable threats that are just hard to answer, Nimble Mongoose is being the best example, but a big Goyf, a flying Delver, what have you, and then back it up with soft permission to prevent your opponent from getting out from under it. And Supreme Verdict is awesome against that sort of game plan because if you get to 4 mana, it just resolves. And the Rug Delver deck isn't that threat dense. It's not easy for that deck to recover from getting Wrath because there's just not a lot of creatures in the deck total.
Yeah. I mean, if you were a Merfolk, for example, you actually have some gas left in the tank afterwards. Rug Delver usually doesn't play that way. They both are variants on the aggro control idea, but like the Rug Delver deck, it's only got 12 creatures.
Yeah, and Merfolk even has cards like Mutavault where it has a little more of an ability to play around Wrath of God. Rug Delver just has its 12 creatures or its 13 creatures, whatever it's playing, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
Silvergill Adept is another way that Merfolk could fight a card like Supreme Verdict, but Rug Delver, I mean, pretty much their plan against a card like Supreme Verdict is, well, I've got Burn 2, and I can hold back a creature perhaps.
Yeah. And Ben Wienburg on the 4 main deck Stifle plan. This is always a controversy amongst Rug Delver aficionados. Are you supposed to have 0 stifles or 4 stifles? Maybe have your stifles on the sideboard, what have you.
I feel like with Stifle that it is so dependent, much like you've talked about with Figure of Destiny or No in Burn, it is so dependent on what you're actually facing in the current moment. And I know people that have played Rug Delver with no stifles who've gone back to it because they really feel like it's that moment in the game where pushing 1 land off of the table from your opponent can be enough to go over the top.
And certainly if Ben's anticipating playing against a lot of miracles this weekend especially, Stifle is an excellent card for for fighting Terminus and Entreat. So the way the metagame's been going, one of the best cards against Rogue Delver is, Stoneforge Mystic and a Batterskull. You have a good answer to either Stoneforge Mystic coming into play or the Living Weapon trigger and being able to fight over Terminus and Entreat, on top of just tagging fetch lands, which strongly correlates to winning if you do it on the first or second turn. So,
yeah, one of the things that you saw a little bit of is a resurgence of Stifle. Initially, I think in a way that wasn't necessarily so exciting, as a way, for example, to fight Gristlebrand that was cheated into play or something like that. And that doesn't excite me very much, and it really didn't catch on. But once Miracles really made a splash, that was a much better reason, I think, to be thinking about Stifle, because you're able to just do so much more when you're talking about a one-time effect as opposed to a reusable effect.
Yeah, certainly, and a lot of the Miracle game plan is take my lumps and then set up this Terminus that I know that I can pay for a Spell Pierce because I'm doing it for 1 mana. I know that you can't Spell Snare it, you can't Daze it, all the conventional answers that the blue tempo decks have to it. But Stifle is just no questions asked. That's working. So
yeah. Okay, going on to game 2 here. Lauren Nolen has got to be happy to be on the play, but even should he come out and win this second game, wow, he's looking down the barrel of a deck that not only has those 4 Wastelands and those Stifles, but his opponent has Pyroblast. I think that Spell Pierce is going to be a very potent weapon here.
Yeah, Lauren has a hand of 3 Plows, Stoneforge, and 2 lands, which is excellent unless Ben is able to get Nimble Mongoose going.
Yep. Pass.
Not willing to have the Stoneforge get dazed. And Ben has just found his Nimble Mongoose too.
Daze is such an interesting card because it ends up forcing... Oh, there's a Delver. It ends up forcing so much different play from your opponent, and it costs such little effort to make that happen.
Yep. Another subtle way that I like the way... Sorry.
Swords to Plowshares hitting the Delver.
So this is a subtle detail, certainly, but something that I really like about Ben's deck is that he's playing Delta and Wooded Foothills. All the fetches are pretty much the same, but I see a lot of these Rug decks that play Rainforest Scalding Tarn, and it's just more of a dead giveaway if you're passing on turn 1. Whereas Wooded Foothills and Polluted Delta, those could be maybe your Zoo, or maybe your some blue-black, whatever deck. The Misty Rainforest Scalding Tarn setup is so stereotypically Rug that it's actually a subtle leak, and Ben's preventing this by playing fetch lands, which are functionally identical, but at least have some potential to deceive his opponent.
We see a turn 3 Lingering Souls, 2 spirits in play. That's actually a very good point, because given his mana counts, there is no difference for him with those fetch land choices.
Yep. So yeah, I like playing Flooded Strands and Polluted Deltas in my Rug decks when I have played that deck, because you just throw your opponent a little bit off the track. So
are those birds? I know that they're actually spirits tokens, but is the art of that? Are those birds there? Or?
Yeah, I think those are bird tokens.
Okay, well, do not be deceived by the birds. They're actually spirits.
So
the owls are not what they seem.
Lauren with just an excellent hand here of multiple Plows, a Stoneforge Mystic, and a Lingering Soul still in the graveyard. Doing a much better job of keeping himself on the front foot in the second game.
And I really like hands like this for Lauren Nolen, where the resistance to his opponent comes in the form of permanents rather than spells.
Yes.
And also cards that remove, not counter magic is what I should be saying. Like him using having swords instead of a counter spell is so much better.
Yeah, he gets to time it a little bit better. His mana is less constrained. It's really important for him to be fighting Ben on the board and not through spells. So we're going to see a flashback on the Souls. Now Lauren's hand is actually just, at this point, it's just the 2 Plows. So I'm curious to see this turn if he's going to try to, assuming Ben flips, if he's going to try to block the spirits or if he's going to save it for his Plows. And this represents that he's looking to plow. Because the risk here of trading off is that Ben has a Nimble Mongoose left over. There's a Ponder, pretty much the ideal card to have on top here. Delvers get flipped. Gets to search for some more action.
And we see that ponder. 3-moon ponder. Wasteland, Days, Fetchland?
Yeah, I assume we're going to be not keeping these.
This is not the time for them.
Yep.
Goodbye.
And Lauren's been fortuitous with some basic land draws, so he's pretty wasteland-proof this game. On the Tom Martell basic land build, 2 island, 1 swamp, 1 plain, so you can cast Jace and Lingering Souls.
Looks like he drew a fetch land off of that regardless.
Alright, so we're going to send in our 2 Delvers here.
In for 6. We're going to see the question of double block or chump. He goes for the double block, and the lightning bolt pays off for Ben Wienburg.
And there's a Nimble Mongoose. Looks like 4 cards in the graveyard.
Not loose.
And there's a Vindicate, so Lauren with a very good hand, but not good against Nimble Mongoose if Ben can get that thing to threshold.
It's not very far off. A fetch land is 5 and 2 creatures in play. I mean, Lauren has to be careful or that goose will be loose.
Yep. Now Lauren's got a lot of time to play with. I mean, he's got 2 chump blockers, a healthy life total. He's still in a very good position this game. He needs to find one of his power cards eventually, but the Nimble Mongoose is pretty much the last piece of the puzzle that Lauren cannot get off the board. And we're seeing it's tough because he would probably want to use his Vindicate here because it's a little bit more efficient mana-wise to keep the plows for some turn down the line. But you know, there is the issue of putting a card in Ben's graveyard as opposed to removing it from the game with plow. Ben could also have Sulfuric Vortex in the sideboard too, which is a common Rug Delver sideboard for this matchup. And so you would want to keep your Vindicate for that as well.
And Lauren passes the turn. Ben Wienburg, or actually, are we going back?
No, we're in combat. I think we're.
Yeah.
Not sure if Lauren is double blocked or whatever the case.
Yeah. Wienburg comes on in. 1 plow keeps a Delver or a Insectile Aberration from hitting the graveyard, and we might be seeing a potential double block or a chump block from Lauren for this next one. Nope, none of the above. Instead, get out of here. Let's keep your graveyard small.
Yep. I'm a fan of this line. Given how high his life total is, he can just, I mean, maybe the goose gets the threshold eventually, but he's got a lot of time to play with and a lot of very powerful draws.
And a second fetch land from Ben Wienburg puts him 1 practical card away from having a 3/3 Mongoose. Preordain.
Finds Snapcaster Mage and a land. He's going to keep the Snapcaster. Land to the bottom.
Snapcaster here has 3 copies in his deck.
And what does he have in his graveyard here? Does he have a cantrip, an instant speed cantrip, or is it just Plow's End?
I only see plows and sorceries. Inquisition of Kozilek.
I don't know if he wants to put a card in the graveyard. Assuming Ben can cast anything good in his hand at instant speed here.
Yeah, I don't actually think that this is a card that he wants to cast right now. He's not protecting anything unless he wants to go protect the Snapcaster for a Preordain.
Well, it's their upside. If Ben has Lightning Bolt in his hand, it's upside because then he can basically Snapcaster, Preordain, or whatever. And, getting Spell Snare out of the hand is pretty awesome too. He can have a bird and a Snapcaster back on D by casting Snapcaster, getting his Preordain if he wants to. Now he has 3 points of power back on D. He has all the information that he needs to know that his double block is safe for the time being. And so he also just needs to find another piece of action. I mean, you know, Lauren's ahead right now in terms of, it looks like he's winning the game, but he still needs to find something to put this game out because he just has nothing left. He's out of action.
And the Preordain here, he's waiting to see if Ben wants to counter it. And Ben's consideration there is whether he wants to force Lauren to fetch the right now. And I think that's totally reasonable. What Ben is doing here, this Daze has become mostly not very good anymore. And in making Lauren crack that fetch land, he has turned off the power of a later game Brainstorm.
Yep. a pretty good spot for Ben. Didn't get to trade it with anything, but
I mean, it doesn't feel good, but it does something.
yeah, your dazes on turn 7 often don't feel good, so
Yeah.
it's par for the course. So Loren looking at Brainstorm and Counterspell on top of his deck and leaving both.
I like that.
One bird in.
In for 1. These creatures that are back can take out a goose if it becomes loose.
Yeah, Ben could really use a kill spell here.
If you're Ben, do you just attack here? Kind of telling your opponent, yeah, I've got it, regardless of whether you have it?
There is, I mean, Loren's going to block there 100% of the time because he can't go to 12 and let Ben keep a lightning bolt in his hand. He has no choice but to play into it. So.
Okay. Just curious about what you felt about that style of move. And now we have a hand of Vindicate, Counterspell, Brainstorm for Loren Nolen. And Ben has been pretty good at guarding his hand, but it's not very exciting, whatever it is, where I think we would have seen some action.
Yeah, normally Rug Delver's decks do not, the cards in their deck do not get better as the game goes on, so be surprised if we were seeing a lot of sandbagging here. All right, Loren's going to cast a Brainstorm. Looking at Jotun Grunt, which is an awesome card. Awesome little piece of sideboard technology that Loren has against graveyard-oriented decks. It's a little miser from Cold Snap. It's a 4/4 with a cumulative upkeep of basically putting cards in someone's graveyard on the bottom of their deck. So it's got the right stats for the job. It's 4/4 is very good against a Nimble Mongoose Lightning Bolt deck. And then it can also shrink a Tarmogoyf or take a Nimble Mongoose off of Threshold. And so
We see a Brainstorm here for Ben Wienburg in response. Loren says okay. And now with those fetch lands in play, Ben is going to get a Brain Ancestral Recall here. He's not really drawing 3 cards, but it sure feels like it when he shuffles away the bad ones.
well, the problem is I think his hand is 5 bad ones. So
Yeah, that is not the face of a man who's happy with his cards.
yeah, I mean, he's just being ground down, and Loren has still plenty of cards left in his hand. It's hard to feel safe or confident about where this game is going if you're Ben, even if he's able to answer this Jotun Grunt, which is he needs to find a spell snare, basically.
Brainstorm number 2.
So we're going to give this another whirl.
We see a Tarmogoyf and a Daze, I believe, in Ben's hand before the Brainstorm hits.
I think Loren's actually contemplating countering here.
Yeah.
And so Ben's going to get
Boom.
to Daze. He gets to put a land back in his
Oh,
hand,
look
which he
at
gets
that.
to shuffle away.
Oh,
It's a big
so
sequence. If we can find a spell
huge.
snare here, we are right back in it.
Another Brainstorm. That same Croson Grip. There's only one Croson Grip in Ben's sideboard. It seems to like the top of the library.
Yep. I mean, he does get one more shuffle and Brainstorm here.
I think you cash it all in.
Yeah, I mean, he can't let this Grunt getting into play is a nightmare. It's not only about what the board's like now, but how many of Ben's draws become horrible once Jotun Grunt's in play.
Ben thinking about that line of play. His hand now Brainstorm, Croson Grip, and I guess we're going to find out maybe some new cards in a second,
Yeah.
because he's going to fetch and Brainstorm once again. He does not look happy about it.
That is a sourpuss.
If you've played against Ben Wienburg before, you know that he is not much of a poker player when it comes to his face in Magic, but that's okay. We're not playing poker, we're playing Magic.
And we found it. We're looking at Grudge. Yeah, I mean, this Jotun Grunt is going to come into play and start causing some serious harm here. His hand is just so graveyard oriented. He's just got these goyfs.
Oh, Grunt. How sad. Tarmogoyf. Pass the turn.
Now Ben's big hope is Loren forgetting about cumulative upkeep, because if that thing stays in play, I mean, Lauren's still at 15. I mean, he's got so much time to play with here.
With the fullness of these graveyards, too, that grunt will live for a long time.
Yeah.
Now remember, that cumulative upkeep is put 2 cards from a graveyard on the bottom of a library. So you can split that up. This means he's going to be able, between his graveyard and Ben Weinberg's graveyard, he's going to have a lot of time to feed that grunt. 2 lands.
Got it quickly to the bottom with those.
Is that Vindicate, Brainstorm, Vendilion Click?
Yep. No shortage of action for Lauren. And yeah, the Rug Delver deck is not very good at playing from catch-up.
Yeah.
It's very much about being on the front foot as much as possible. And
one of the cards you could use to be playing catch-up, and it's a card you sometimes see in Rug Delver in small numbers in the main or sideboard, is Price of Progress. But even there, pretend he does not have it, first of all. But if you see the basics in Lauren's deck, I mean, he still has cards that make the price not do that kind of work.
yeah, no, he's covered from even cards that Ben could theoretically have. And Ben revealing a hand of a bunch of artifact removal. The Vendilion Click's going to take the Tarmogoyf, leaving him with Grudge and Grip. Not only do those cards not do anything, but now Lauren is aware of them and can play around them.
Yeah. Where before he might have made some effort to, for example, let's say equip an Umezawa's Jite. Now he knows, might as well not bother.
Yeah, no point. So the information very valuable there. The Click found Ben a Brainstorm. And no shuffle, so we're going to be looking at those shatters and disenchants at least one more time. Yeah, and Ben just in no end of trouble here.
Yep. 1, 2. Attacks with a Goyf, which is for now big.
Yeah, I would like to see probably Click and Snapcaster in front. Taking the hit seems risky.
I think he's taking it.
Oh, he's taking the hit. Okay.
Delver. Goyf. Let's just unload.
Yep.
And now he can take away 4 cards from a graveyard. Well, 2 and 2. He can split it up if he wants.
Yeah, and right now his focus has just got to be on getting clearly 1 card type out of both players' graveyards. Understanding that there's some danger in, say, putting Lightning Bolt back at Ben Weinberg's deck because of all the shuffling and cantripping.
Yep.
It's not like that card's gone forever.
And he does it again, this time taking out 1 sorcery, 1 more instant. Ben Weinberg's graveyard is now not quite half of what it was a turn and a half ago. Main phase Brainstorm, just like Ben Weinberg did. Best kind of Brainstorm, generally speaking. There's a fetch land to reward himself.
And some artifacts.
Now, the funny thing is Ben's anti-artifact cards are so good against cards like Batterskull right now, and Lauren knows it. He can even shuffle it away if he wants.
Yeah, but unfortunately the rest of his hand is not very... Yeah, basically those shatters make Lauren's hand just considerably worse. Because he can't shuffle away all of his bad action. He's got redundant lands, 2 pieces of artifact, like 2 artifacts. I mean, he can play sword and attack him this turn, right? So he can at least get 1 use out of Feast and Famine. And that's going to be in. We'll put this on a bird, I guess. Sure.
Okay. These birds are fake spirits. Apparently, players have loved our spirit tokens so much they walk off with them all day, and we're out of spirit tokens over there.
Yep. I'm a little surprised maybe we didn't move that sword onto, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I guess I was thinking maybe we want to move the sword onto the Snapcaster because it basically means Ben has to chump block with Delver if he wants to block because of pro green. But the attack wouldn't be for lethal, and I guess there's a pretty big risk of just sending everything and leaving yourself vulnerable on the way back. So
everything untaps. The Croson Grip in Ben's hand is discarded. And with the mana that's left, we're going to see the movement of the Feast and Famine, I think.
I think we're going to Vindicate a Goyf here while we're here, too.
You know, if only it was a sphere. Detention Sphere would be sick. Moves the sword over to the Snapcaster Mage and passes the turn. And now Ben knows it's there to flip. 3-2. The ground is basically defended, and so Ben's only thing he can do here is, if he wants to, he can go in for 3 in the air, but that sets him vulnerable to a return strike in the air.
I mean, he could attack with, if he attacks with a Goyf, can Loren kill him on the way back? Blocks with 2, 3, 4. I mean, if he attacks with Goyf, basically, Loren has to be willing to trade the Joden Grunt here, because if he takes 7 from this attack, Loren falls in the Lightning Bolt range. So Ben can get the Grunt off the table, I believe, because, yeah, Loren doesn't want to fall to 3, and Ben can survive a swing back if Loren elected not to block. So
in come the Delver of Secrets, now an Insectile Aberration, and the Tarmogoyf, currently a 4/5. Ben Wienburg's hand, a single Ancient Grudge. Loren Nolen knows it. The Ancient Grudge takes out the sword. Damage happens, and the Snapcaster dies. 3 damage to Loren Nolen, down to 7. And now we're going to see 6 cards go away. Goodbye, Ancient Grudge. What else are you going to take?
Yeah, I don't think we're actually... I don't know if we can get an actual card type out of there.
Right now, he's just basically greatly reducing the size of the graveyard. I saw him looking a little bit at his own graveyard, thinking probably about that sort of Feast and Famine.
Yep.
The only artifact in a graveyard, I believe.
Alright, so we're just going right after his graveyard. Makes some sense because of Nimble Mongoose.
Okay, and those cards go to the bottom.
Loren draws an Underground Sea. Not of much help here. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, this attack is for lethal, but obviously comes with a huge risk, as Ben can chump block with the Goose and then attack on the way back.
Here they come.
So this attack I like quite a bit from Loren, because it means that he gets 1 damage in for sure. If Ben does it, even if Ben chump blocks the Joden Grunt, Loren is still representing a lethal attack the following turn. So you get him 1 point for sure, and you start squeezing Ben's options. Either he chump blocks this turn, or he has to chump block considerably more the following turn.
Now, we're seeing really the power of what Joden Grunt is doing here, because he's forcing certain options from Ben. That Nimble Mongoose is now a little weakling, and Tarmogoyf is soon to be fairly small as well.
You know, it would be a really sweet draw right about now? Sulfur Elemental.
Yes.
This would be a good time for Sulfur Elemental.
How about a Goose? 7 life. In on the ground.
Let's see how Loren blocks here.
That's a Tarmogoyf and a Nimble Mongoose, currently a 1/1. Tarmogoyf currently a 4/5, coming in on the ground.
Ben sending in enough to pressure Loren while leaving himself enough on the way back to block out of Loren's attack.
We are perhaps the influx size of the Tarmogoyf. We see a chump block of the Goyf, and Loren takes 1. Okay, apparently that's a 5/6 Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, Artifact is still...
And Jotun Grunt eats 4 cards from Ben Weinberg's graveyard, completely emptying it out. And he's going to get 4 cards from his own. I think I see creatures.
Yeah, he's gotten the artifact out of there and all creatures as well. So I think we're in land, sorcery, instant territory with that Tarmogoyf now.
That would put it at a 3-4 if that's the correct things. Yep, 3-4 Tarmogoyf now.
Lauren drawing yet another land, so...
The Jotun Grunt is lethal. So it will eat up something should he attack. But he's in a weird position here. If he comes in with just the Jotun Grunt, it can be killed by the 2 defenders.
Yep.
Now, if he goes in with everything, then that block can't happen. But it leaves him open then to the possibility of being killed in the swing back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lauren's last 2 draw steps have been useless lands, and so we can still sort of keep, I guess, probing, for lack of a better word, with some of these attacks. But he certainly can't just go all out. He also might be close to losing that.
The Grunt?
The Grunt. Is that thing supposed to be up to 5 counters now?
It's going to be at 5 in a second. It's at 4 currently. And he's thinking about coming on in.
I assume we're just going to chump this thing, would be my guess. Because it's going to go away in 2 turns anyway, so you can just chump block with Nimble, chump block with Nimble. Yeah, and that's where Ben is. That's where Ben's at, too. So for all mental.
Ben has some things to contemplate here. The Goyf, currently a 3-4, marches on in.
Ben's been pretty impressive in this game. I mean, he's behind, but he is doing a very good job of making attacks that pressure Lauren's board without leaving himself so exposed to a counterattack where he just either dies or has to make bad chump blocks.
And it's a 4-5. That goose does make the Goyf slightly bigger.
Yep.
Now, you cannot split up the use of your Jotun Grunt, so he cannot take out Ben's Nimble Mongoose from the graveyard.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Is he short?
He's got a plow and...
That plow might be RFG'd with a Snapcaster from earlier. Okay, and the graveyard order being changed around. A part of me is seething a little bit now.
Sure. Fortunately, one can assume no shallow graves or death sparks in any of these decks.
What about Phyrexian Furnace?
Sure.
I know I'm stretching. And what is this? Is that yet another land?
No, that was Stoneforge this time.
I thought I saw a land, but it was just Lorian flipping through the cards there.
Still risky, and Ben's gotten some draw steps here. He found a Spell Snare. He's about to lose that Grunt. I mean, do we have a
Mystic?
Snare?
Oh, Devastation. Wow. I mean, the thing is, there could be an Ancient Grudge. There could be a Krosan Grip. Do you like Umazawa's Jite here? Do you like Batterskull? Looks like he likes sort of Feast and Famine.
I would probably err towards Batterskull because he's still, Lightning Bolt still matters a lot. I'm not that thrilled. I don't think Sword does a ton here. It's how much do you value pro green and pro black? Because he still has a. Okay, yeah, I like this a lot better. I understand wanting to go get the sword because he can kill Ben in one shot with it, but since he still has Insect Operation back on defense, I guess he was probably slow rolling that play because he was worried about days, because he just wants to hard cast his skull.
And it works. Batterskull has a germ. The Grunt eats a goose. And Lauren hangs back on defense just in case something goes wrong.
Ben needs a shatter stat.
Did he just draw a grip?
I'm not sure.
I can't tell. I thought I saw green, and it didn't look goosey or goify to me.
I don't think we're thinking that long if it's...
In comes the insect. Trades with the click. Lightning bolt in hand.
And finally, Ben out from under that Jotengrunt, I think.
And Ben's like, I don't think you're going to
Get
pull
out
it
of
out. You can't partially pay. I think that's the question being asked. Can I partially pay? No. Land brainstorm. Main phase brainstorm, the best kind of brainstorm.
And we pick up
Fetch lands.
Lingering Souls.
Oh.
Lingering Souls very good here. And it looks like Ben is looking at a hand of Fetch Land Lightning Bolt, which means he's not much longer for this world. We had to basically bolt the end of the Stoneforge because Loren could go get Black-Green Sword, cheat it into play, Black-Green Sword on the Germ, attack for lethal.
And we see the Sword of Feast and Famine fetched up.
And now Loren with a lot of breathing space.
Lingering Souls. Ben Wienburg, I don't know what he could hope to draw. He knows it's bad for him. And I think... I don't know about... Okay, this is going to be about managing clock stuff.
Yep.
I don't know about him scooping there. I would have let Loren kill him. And here's how I mean. I wouldn't be slow about it. I would draw my card, I'd pass the turn, say go, and let Loren do it so that you're not doing anything shady with regards to time. But at the same time, we just saw this game where Loren Nolen won take literally about 34 minutes.
Yep.
And we're on 9 minutes left in the round. I don't mind legitimately eating up the clock to let game things happen because Loren still has to kill you.
Well, I actually think, I actually like the way that Ben handled it there. I actually might have conceded on the previous turn because
he has to win too.
He also has to win, and Loren's deck can defend itself for a very long time. So the difference between 8 and 12 minutes, let's say, in theory, might be the difference between Ben drawing a game he would otherwise win and winning the game. 8 to 12 minutes is very unlikely to make the difference in terms of Loren being able to kill you, because it takes him so long to be able to win the game.
Figuring out where that time is and where that line is important, particularly because you also get the 5 extra turns. And that 5 extra turns can actually be 10 minutes,
yes.
You know, or more.
Yeah, but I think Ben actually needs the time. It sort of like goes on this arc. It's like the less time it is, both players draw. There's a ramp up where it's way more likely Ben is able to win and Loren can't win. And then it hits a point where a win for Loren is actually in play. So you want to be kind of underneath that point, but above the lower end of you having enough time.
It's a shame you can't see what we're doing because we had some really good visuals there.
Yeah, I made a little exponential ramp sort of chart with my hand.
Now, this is one of the things about Magic that if you are somebody at home and you're trying to increase your game, you just need to make sure you think about those things. But in the real world, don't think about them too long because you can just end up thinking about everything too often, slow yourself down, and never finish a match.
Yeah, all that stuff is definitely secondary to just playing the game well.
Yes.
Ben's keeping, Loren's going back.
Work on your skills first, and then think about trying to hone the razor.
Game 3 over here of round 6 of the Legacy portion. I'm Patrick Sullivan with Adrian Sullivan.
Hello.
Ben trying to advance to 6-0 here. Loren already with 1 draw, 4-0-1. So trying to avoid going further into the draw bracket.
One of the things that I'm really impressed by with Ben's time management here, Ben has been in the history of his play. I've seen him play for probably about 6 years. He's been a player that has been slower in the past, and I really like the pacing that he's doing. He's playing at a fast pace, making decisions crisply. Always a good thing. Turn 1, we have a Wooded Foothills from Ben Wienburg.
Marsh Flats from Loren, and Loren with a very good hand. Plow, Brainstorm, Vendilion Click, Lingering Souls, and Sword of Feast and Famine. Ben just going to break up both of his fetches, I assume for Volcanic Trop. I'm surprised for a man who's been playing this deck as long as Ben has, that he doesn't have pre-year dual lands yet. A little surprised.
You know, I have to say, my dual lands all look pretty ugly.
Sure.
And we got Tarmogoyf from Ben Wienburg. A huge 2-3, I believe.
And
well, it will be a 2-3 once this spell resolves.
Loren brainstorms and no third land. He still has his second land here, but...
Now, Loren's end of turn brainstorm there is not ideal if we're trying to make the brainstorm be as best as possible, but sometimes you don't want your brainstorm as best as possible. You want to do things in time. You
Yep.
want to get stuff done. And he knows that in this matchup, he's facing a real clock, and he's got to get out of the gates. He can't just mess around, so that's fine.
And he was just not willing to walk that Source of Plowshares in his hand into a daze, which I can definitely understand.
Yeah.
Because the rest of his hand is just not that well suited.
And we see the Source of Plowshares knocks out the Tarmogoyf.
Ben has Sulfuric Vortex in hand, which would be devastating if he could get into resolve.
We see a Sulfuric Vortex, a Ancient Grudge, Tarmogoyf, Spell Snare, I think?
Yes.
Okay. If you're at home, don't crane your neck to try to see what the cards are. It won't work. We don't broadcast in 3 dimensions yet.
So Ben with a resolves the Tarmogoyf and then wastes away the Tundra, which I really like. Trying to cut Loren off of white mana.
Brainstorm. Oh,
And
boy.
Loren with no second land. He waited until his main phase of Brainstorm to give himself one more card to look at, but...
Now this, Ben Wienburg has got to be smiling inside right now. He's got Force of Will, he's got a clock.
Vortex still in hand with Loren with no answer to it if he can get it in play.
Ben says go. And I think we're going to see another main phase Brainstorm here, looking to try to go 2 deeper.
Yeah, right. This is rough. He's got to find a second land. I don't think he has much of a choice. He can't cast a Plow, as
he's waiting. And a turn Brainstorm. I'm not sure about this one though. Back comes Ancient Grudge. Back goes Basic Land, or not Basic Land. A dual land.
You're not sure about this one from Ben?
Yeah.
He just wants to find another red mana to stick his Vortex.
That's fair. That's fair. Because that's a huge monster if it happens.
This is just a disaster for Loren. I don't even know if he has a way. He has Vindicate, I guess, but the damage is going to be way done by then.
Loren takes 2. He draws a card, casts the main phase Brainstorm. He's all gone through those 2 cards he put back. These are 3 fresh cards. Ben, contemplating a Force of Will, says no. Swamp Plains.
It's like a Caracas in a swamp, so he's got some mana to work with.
Oh, it's a Caracas? Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
A little bit fancier.
Yeah, much so. Back go 2 cards. Yep. Swamp go. Take 2, Ben. Now you can hear the announcement of time, and you can see the clock still clicking down. That is because these players have a few extra moments to allow them to get set up here when the match starts. Ben Wienburg in commanding position here. Sulfuric Vortex, Tarmogoyf, shuffles away with his Ponder here, makes his Goyf a little bit bigger, 3-4.
And I don't see Loren being able to get out of both this Tarmogoyf and the Sulfuric Vortex.
Yeah.
He needs 2 pretty specific answers, and he's struggling to cobble together one, so...
We see Caracas, Lingering Souls maybe to try to buy time, Jotun Grunts to try to buy time. There's a Force of Will waiting in the wings from Ben Wienburg.
Yep, he's got it. He's got all the tools you can... Oh, and another Wasteland.
Jeez. We're going to maybe see a Snapcaster here.
And that's
and
the
that
concession.
is it. Lauren Nolen scoops it up, and Ben pulling a
Still
still had
all of these. Ben Wienburg, ladies and
Wow.
gentlemen.
We have a Spruik fan in the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Little rubbins.
Wow, I haven't seen that since drafting Wednesday night with Sam Black. Okay.
Ben Weinberg 6-0.
Wow.
Very nicely done.
Okay.
And that's, when we talk about Esper Blade versus Miracles,